Good evening. I'm Armando Cuellar, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This regular board meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. The board is meeting by the use of Google Meets and telephone transmission, which allows two-way communication for members of the public during public comments. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time now is 5:34, and I call this meeting to order. I'll now begin the roll call. When I call your name, each trustee signify your present by saying aye or present. When I call your name, please. Mr. Nieto?
Present.
Mrs. Jackie Sustaita? Coach Trevino?
Present.
Dr. Jaime Rodriguez?
Present.
Mr. Mark de los Santos? And Mr. Andrew Gonzalez? And myself, Armando Cuellar. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum present. Item 3, opening prayer. Dr. Valdez?
Good afternoon, President Cuellar, members of the board, and members of the audience. This afternoon, we have the invocation being conducted by Ms. Maribel Magallanes, attendance clerk at Memorial Elementary, and I call on Carlos Robledo. He's going to be leading us with the following items.
I would like to introduce Ms. Maribel Magallanes, attendance clerk at Memorial Elementary. Will everyone please, for the invocation.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to open up in prayer tonight. In Romans 8:28, the Word of God says, "And we know that all things work together for good for those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose." Will you join me in prayer tonight? Heavenly Father, we bring this meeting before you tonight. We thank you for your presence is here now. Father, we lift up to you the Rio Grande Valley, our school district, our board members, our principals, our teachers, our students and staff. Father, we pray, as you have instructed us in your word, that if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So, Father, we thank you for the wisdom and the understanding that will be taking place here tonight to bring your plans and purposes for your people and the school district. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance, Texas Pledge. Dr. Valdez?
Mr. Robledo, you may proceed.
Up next, I'd like to welcome a couple of students from Memorial Elementary. How about a big hand as they come to the podium? We have here with us two individuals, Francisco Guevara, first of all, junior. He is a fifth grader at Memorial Elementary School and is the son of Francisco Guevara Sr. and Edna De Leon. Francisco enjoys playing catcher for his coach pitch team, the Red Sox. He also loves reading and earned a perfect score on the Reading Star last year. Francisco wants to be a pediatrician so he can help kids live a strong, healthy life. He's also considering being a professional baseball player so he can play a sport while making a lot of money. If his parents are here, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents of Francisco Guevara. Also with us here from Memorial Elementary is Elena Sanchez, and she is also a fifth grader at Memorial Elementary. She is the daughter of Raymond and Ana Sanchez. Elena loves reading and math. She received a perfect score on the Math Star Test last year and enjoys reading The Warrior series by Aaron Hunter. Elena plays the piano and enjoys singing with her family. She wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up because she loves animals, especially cats. If her parents are here, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents of Elena Sanchez. And if everyone can please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Students, whenever you are ready.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Item 5, awards and recognitions. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, so this evening we get to recognize our fantastic and fabulous students and staff. So Mr. Robledo, you may proceed.
All right, well, we do have some student athletes that we'd like to recognize tonight. And how about a big hand as they enter the room? Some of our student athletes from Weslaco East High School. Let's give them a big hand. All right, so tonight we want to congratulate several high school athletes who were recently named on the Academic All-State Honor Roll. These student athletes were selected by the Texas High School Coaches Association for their academic excellence. We have some of our students here. Some of them are out. They're participating or practicing in their athletic activities, but we do want to recognize those that are here tonight. And as I say your name, if you could please step forward to be recognized. In cross country, we have Samuel de la Torre receiving Academic All-State Honorable Mention distinction. Not here. We'll move on to volleyball. In volleyball, Academic All-State Honorable Mention distinction goes to Gabriela Reina. Also, Academic All-State Honorable Mention, Kimberly Quintanilla. Also in volleyball, making academic all-state, first team is Bianca Magali Laraga. She's not here today. In football, we have making academic all-state second team, Josue Morales. And we also have making the academic all-state team, first team, Pedro Garcia. Not here today. Thank you very much. Was your name supposed to be on here? She's a coach. That's one of the coaches. I apologize. I thought you were a student. If their parents are here, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And you all may exit this way. Thank you.
Congratulations. Outstanding.
Congratulations.
We have a few more recognitions. Okay, Sammy can bring them in. Up next, we'd like to recognize some of our student athletes from Weslaco High School. How about a big round of applause as they enter the room? We'd like to recognize some of our athletes in cross country, volleyball, and in football. We'll start off with cross country. Academic All-State honorable mention distinctions go to Derek Rodriguez, who is not here. Give him a big hand. We also have Ana Vela, not here today. And also we have Kennedy Villalpando. I'd also like to recognize earning academic all-state second team honors, Calissa Cavazos. From the boys cross-country team, making academic all-state first team, Rowley Sandoval. We'd also like to recognize making academic all-state first team, Jared Garcia, not present here. In volleyball, as we move to volleyball now, making academic all-state second team, we have Yomaira de Anda. Also making academic all-state second team, Sarah Morales. We also have making academic all-state first team, Jada Moreno. In football, academic all-state honorable mention distinctions go to Noah Gonzalez. Also academic all-state honorable mention, Eric Gonzalez. Making academic all-state first team, Robert De Anda. We would also like to recognize one more first team academic all-state not present, Marcus Sines. If their parents are here, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents. Thank you very much and congratulations once again.
Congratulations. Outstanding job. We would also like to celebrate a little bit tonight. We have some individuals from the Fine Arts Department, some of our band students who participated and qualified for all-state band. How about a big hand as they enter the room? Tonight, we want to celebrate a tremendous accomplishment. 3 Weslaco High School band students recently auditioned for and have earned chairs on the all-state band. We would like to congratulate Isabella Sanchez. And we'd also like to recognize Raymond Sanchez. And we'd also like to recognize one more individual. Special recognition goes out to Anthony Ortiz, who was first chair trumpet for the entire state of Texas. Congratulations. Very big honor. Congratulations. These students will be performing at the Texas Music Educators Association Convention in San Antonio at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center on February 12th, 2022. These musicians are among the best in the state of Texas. Yeah. We would also like to congratulate their band director, Rodrigo Leal. And if their parents are here, parents, would you please rise and be recognized as well? Parents. Congratulations to everybody. Congratulations.
Best in the state of Texas. We'd also like to congratulate their band director, Rodrigo Leal. Parents are here. Parents, would you please rise and be recognized as well? Parents. Congratulations to everybody. Best in the state of Texas. Yeah, so you should use, but where are we going to YouTube over there? We'd also like to congratulate their band director, Rodrigo Leal.
Ready to move on?
You can move on to the next.
Okay, good. Before we go to the next item, I'd like to acknowledge that Mr. Mark de los Santos joined the meeting at 5:39. Okay. Item 6, recognition of Weslaco ISD School Board of Trustees. Dr. Valdez.
So every January, it is Board Recognition Month, and on behalf of Team Weslaco ISD, we want to thank you for your service. We honor you today. We honor you all the time. You're a key member to the educational system in Texas, the entire state, and particularly Weslaco ISD. And you so eloquently and diligently and arduously work with parents, with educational professionals, with our community. And so today we honor you. We thank you for creating successful learning environments for our students to succeed. And I'll always say that great classrooms begin with great boardrooms. And so we thank you on behalf of Team WISD for your call to serve and be a public servant. At this time, I'm going to call Dr. Sergio Garcia and Carlos Robledo to lead us with the presentations.
Want to say something? And then okay. So tonight, we would like to recognize the Weslaco ISD School Board in honor of School Board Appreciation Month. We thank you for the dedication, leadership in public education, and continuing to service the children of Weslaco. In addition to the gift baskets you have received, which are behind you, and the artwork you see on the wall from students, we would like to present to you with a Years of Service plaque. All right? We will start off with Trustee Marco de los Santos, Years of Service 2020-2022. If you can turn, we're going to take a quick photo. Just, there we go. Thank you. Up next, we would like to recognize Board Secretary Jesse Trevino, Years of Service 2020-2022. Thank you. Up next, we would like to recognize Board President Armando Cuellar Jr., Years of Service 2018-2022. Up next, we would like to recognize Dr. Jaime Rodriguez, Board Vice President, Years of Service 2017 through 2022. Up next, we would like to recognize Trustee Isidoro Nieto, Years of Service 2014-2022. A couple of board members aren't here yet, but we'd like to recognize them. We'll start with Jacqueline Sustaita, Years of Service 2020-2022. And we'd also like to recognize Trustee Andrew Gonzalez, Years of Service 2014-2022. Okay. Up next, proclamations.
Okay. Item 7, proclamations. Dr. Valdez.
This afternoon, we do have a couple of, or a few, or several proclamations to declare this evening. So we have Carlos Robledo. He'll do the honors.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight, we'd like to recognize we'll start off by recognizing our career and technology staff. I know we have some members online. If they are here, if they could also please stand to be recognized as I read this proclamation. Whereas February 1st through the 28th, 2022 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association of Career and Technical Education, where profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of our work, thereby placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system. And whereas career and technical education provides Americans with a school-to-careers connection and is the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce which fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of the WISD Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim February 2022 as Career and Technical Education Month. Congratulations. Up next, National Guidance and Counseling Week, and we have a few of our counselors who are here. We'd like for them to stand and be recognized, some of our counselors. Whereas school counselors are employed in our schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus in ways to further the education, personal, and social growth of their children and our children. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of the WISD Board of Trustees, does hereby support and proclaim February 7th through the 11th, 2022 as National Guidance and Counseling Week. Congratulations. Up next, we have FCCLA Leadership Week. If we have anybody here from the participants from FCCLA, either in person or online, this is for you. Whereas Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, the national nonprofit student organization, and Family and Consumer Sciences students through grades 12 helps youth assume their roles in society through family and consumer sciences education in areas of personal growth, family life, vocational preparation, and community involvement. And whereas the organization extends classroom learning through chapter projects that develop leadership and initiatives and helps young men and women learn how to plan, make decisions, and carry out and evaluate programs of action as they work with other youth and adults in their community and their school. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of the WISD Board of Trustees, proclaims February 14th through the 18th as FCCLA Leadership Week at WISD. We have one more, Digital Learning Day, which I think every day is Digital Learning Day at Weslaco ISD. But we have a special one here for February 25th. So anybody from the technology department, please stand. I think they're all working. Whereas Digital Learning Day is an annual national and international celebration of technological and digital education in K through 12 schools, and where teachers in schools across the country and around the world hold local activities supporting the event, offering new and exciting ways for students to learn daily. And whereas teachers, students, and in schools in Texas across the nation are using innovative and technology to transform and improve education. Therefore, Armando Cuellar Jr., President of the WISD School Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim February 25th, 2022 as Digital Learning Day. Congratulations.
Item 8, public comments. We have one. Okay. State your name and your address.
Diana Garza, 1011 East 10th Street, Mercedes, Texas.
Thank you. I'm going to read a little something here, and then we'll give you the floor. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, the Board of Trustees may not deliberate on any comment made by a member of the public on a subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of this meeting. As per the Texas Attorney General, the scope of board discussion for a subject not part of the meeting. Let me take off my glasses here and remove the mask. Diana, excuse me. Now I can see better. Okay. As per the Texas Attorney General, the scope of board discussion for a subject not part of the meeting agenda is limited to only a proposal by a board member to place on the subject on a future board agenda. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. Audience participation at a board meeting is limited to the portion of the meeting designated for that purpose. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board, unless recognized by the presiding officer. No public comment presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. Any disruptive behavior by any speaker may result in the speaker's removal from participation in the meeting. Please be mindful of using names or personally identifiable information, as there is no immunity from defamatory comments while participating in public comments. You have 5 minutes. Mr. Coach Emilio will let you know at the 4-minute mark that you have a minute left. You have the floor.
All right. Good evening, school board trustees and Dr. Valdez and all members of the community that are out there. I'm back again from November 3rd. I was here on November 3rd last semester to talk about an item, and well, I wasn't able to talk about that item, but I talked about another one. So, school board trustees, Dr. Valdez, thank you very much for doing what was right on that evening of November 3rd. So I know I spoke on that agenda item, that you all had visited multiple occasions, and I asked that you do the right thing and put closure to that and move the district forward. So with that being said, thank you so much for doing what's right for the students of this district. And again, it's Weslaco ISD School Board Trustee Month. Thank you so much for all that you do. You are appreciated. You're here on your own time and trying to do the best for all students, and we thank you. Okay, so with that being said, there's many things that I'd like to talk about, but I only have 5 minutes, so let me rush. Okay, so on January 2nd, 2022, I got multiple phone calls from a staff members from a particular campus on a physical assault of a special needs child that occurred. You know, they called me, I didn't know them, and okay, they said, we're reaching out to you because you stated you're a child advocate for all Weslaco ISD students, and I said, sure I am. So that's why I'm here. There's several questions that I have on the procedures, what happened on that day. You have a safety and security director that was not informed of that physical assault of the special needs child. There was a police officer assigned to that campus that was oblivious as to what was going on that physical assault. I am wondering, why do we have a safety and security director and he was not part of the investigation, had no clue that transpired? That kind of bothers me, you know, because we have a safety and security director. Why wasn't he informed? We have a police officer that I didn't know that was assigned to that campus. He was clueless as to that physical assault. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, why those people were not involved. Instead, there was a former employee of that school that is a director now that was called to investigate. So I don't know how legit that investigation was, since she was an employee of that school before. When I saw that video, it appeared to me that it was common practice. And when I got calls from staff members, and I will be emailing every single one of you on what was transpired on that, from multiple staff members on what happens at that campus, you know, how that campus is run and has been for years. I will be emailing you. I'm not going to mention names here, but I will be emailing you what happens over there. So with that being said, please follow up and bring justice to that child. Very sad situation. Because as I look at each one of you up there that got elected to serve, to advocate for our students, each one of you has children. And most of the people out here that I know have children. let's pause for a minute. How would you have liked it for that to appear on social media, on the news? You're a child. So please reflect on that, because I know it's Agenda 13, B1. You know, every one of you up there has children. I know that for a fact, so please. I know you're sitting there for a reason, and it's to advocate for all children, especially the special needs children that have no voice. That's one of the concerns. The next one is, you know, there's need. We lost a child. That's very sad. You know, as we all know, on January the 6th, we lost a child. There is need for our counselors to do what they were hired to do. Okay, not to be doing testing and putting the counseling aside, as we have it at campus that I'm well aware of, where it's my campus, my rules, I'm gonna do what I want.
5 minutes, Diana.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, we will continue, you know, with an email, and I will voice the rest of my concerns. But thank you so much. Thank you for doing what is right and what you got elected to do. I appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 9, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Valdez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Our superintendent's report this afternoon or evening now consists of just one topic. So if we could proceed to the previous slide, Mr. Trevino, the previous. We are focusing on COVID-19 information and updates. And the next slide. So we're going to hyper-focus on that today. Weslaco ISD continues to closely monitor this ever-changing COVID-19 pandemic landscape. We thank all of our stakeholders in advance for their patience, flexibility, and understanding. Please be prepared for sporadic shifts to remote conferencing for some classes and/or students. And so we had to take a sporadic shift. As you know, we had to extend the winter break due to the spike in COVID-19 cases. And so we thank everyone, all our stakeholders, for being patient, for being flexible, and being understanding. And that's not the end of it. Cases are still increasing, and that's why I have chosen to focus and hyper-focus on this topic today. The next slide, please. Indicates from the CDC, this is December 2nd, 2021, a map indicating the cases from low to high throughout the country. And notice the colors, right, on that legend. And then the next slide indicates January 3rd, 2022. And you see that shift that happens within just 1 month. And so you see our area went from moderate to now high at the beginning of this year. The next slide indicates COVID-19 data specific to Hidalgo County. And you see the date starting with December 10th on that table with daily COVID cases down to January 18th. And you see how it starts on December 10th with 110 cases, and then you see a spike, and it peaks at 530 cases January 11th, just last week. So, and you see a graph there indicating a visual representation of that data. So not only in the country, but in the county, right? In the state and county, we're seeing the increased amounts of cases, which is causing much concern. And the next slide indicates the COVID report for the county as far as hospitalizations, how many in ICU beds, and you have the data there from December 15th to January 17th. And the COVID hospitalization out of total hospital capacity by percent. The next slide indicates specific numbers to Weslaco, and you see the increase in infections, and you see the peaks and the valleys on that bar graph from December 5th to January 16th. We are starting to see a decline, the decline starting in the northeast of our country, and it's now starting to decline a bit, but it's still at alarming numbers compared to what we're used to seeing. And so when we hone in now on the next slide, this is specific to Weslaco Independent School District and a summary of active COVID-19 cases, and then you'll see it by campus. So we have a total amount of students of 15,757. We have 582 positive cases confirmed as of today. That's 582. We're hitting 600 cases of student cases confirmed positives. Weslaco ISD total staff, we have 2,278, and today we have 102 active positive cases. So those are staggering numbers. We never saw that during the fall semester. And then on the next slide, you see the cases listed by campus. And so you see the summary by school and district. So 684 total cases. The next slide indicates a data table illustrating or showing the number of COVID-19 cases in a few of our Rio Grande Valley districts. You see Harlingen, Donna ISD, McAllen, Edinburgh, PSJ, and Brownsville, just to give you an idea of our neighbors, and they're experiencing the same spikes as we are. So that's why we call on all our stakeholders to be patient, to be flexible, and to be understanding given the change. It's an ever-changing landscape. The next portion of the presentation, I'm going to go into our protocols. And just to give you an idea, there's confusion throughout the country. It is not just confusion in Weslaco, it's confusion everywhere. 25 hours ago, the leader of the CDC was sharing information on they could have done a better job in providing clear communication in their guidance, the recent guidance that was released. And so we go based on, first of all, Texas Education Agency, their guidance. So if you look at this slide, this is a screenshot of TEA's website on coronavirus COVID-19 support and guidance. And everyone has access to this so they can know exactly what school districts in the state of Texas are to be implementing. And I'm going to read what it says underneath that, the caption underneath the photo there. It says, the Texas Education Agency continues to work with the Office of the Governor, Texas Department of State Health Services, DSHS, and the Texas Division of the Emergency Management, TDM, to coordinate and plan the state's response to COVID-19. TEA's role in these efforts is to help coordinate the flow of information from the state to districts, help districts solve problems, and provide guidance that will aid in districts' decision-making. TEA does not have the general authority to close schools for matters related to health. So this is the why we do what we do in these matters. We follow TEA's guidance with that of the State Department of Health for our state. I did provide a link. I hyperlinked it so anyone can access the specific guidance from the state. The next slide is a CDC update. What I want to highlight in that excerpt from the CDC is underlined in red. You know how CDC recently updated their isolation and quarantine protocols? They don't supersede the state, local, tribal or territorial laws, rules, and regulations. It is the state and local health departments that lead the way for our guidance, for our protocols. It is not the CDC. And on January 7th, this was just the Friday before we reconvened from winter break, Texas Education Commissioner Morath held a webinar with all superintendents in the state, and he noted that we are to follow the Texas Public Health guidance that is provided by the Texas Education Agency, and that the CDC recommendations are only a guide for us. So the next slide, you see from TEA's website, public health orders updated January 14th, 2022. That was this past Friday. We are receiving information from the state agency on a daily basis and updates. And there's also information there, buttons, if you will, that the public and all of us can access with further information should anyone wish to seek more guidance from the state. The next slide is the actual document provided by the Texas Education Agency titled Public Health Guidance, dated January 7th, 2022, the exact day that Commissioner Morath consulted with all superintendents throughout the state. I also hyperlinked that document because this is exactly what we are following. This document contains what I consider, and the team, the COVID response team for the district, describes as a combination of CDC guidelines along with the Department of State Health Services for the state of Texas. So if you will, it's a combination of protocols. But if anyone wants to study that, it's right here. This is exactly what we are following. The guidelines that we're following are pretty much the CDC's guidelines, with the exception of one, which is students who have COVID-19. So if a student tests positive for COVID-19, if you look at TA's public health guidance, there's a link to the Department of State Health Services DSHS rule. And on the next slide, I took a screenshot of that website. And this is specific COVID-19 school readmission criteria from the State Health Department. And it tells us that a school administrator shall exclude from attendance any child having or suspected of having COVID-19. We have to exclude them. And it says the exclusion shall continue until the readmission criteria for the conditions are met. And so they stipulate 10 days. For adults, it's 5 days, as the CDC provides general guidance for the general public, right? For adults, it's 5 days. But for students, specific to the state of Texas, it's 10 days. And it gives you there the criteria that they have to meet. And so we're following what the state is telling us to do. On the next slide, we did add, as far as for Weslaco ISD, if the individual has symptoms or tests positive before COVID-19 and wants to return to school before completing the above stay-at-home period, the individual must either A, obtain a medical provider's note clearing the individual for return, or B, obtain an acute infection test at a physician's office, approved testing location, or other site that comes back negative for COVID-19. And that's specific to our district. We felt that the COVID-19 district response team felt that should they obtain a medical provider, the medical provider's giving them clearance, they can return. Okay, so if you saw TEA's public health guidance, it's a bunch of text, right? Listed. It's quite challenging to follow the guidelines. And so what we're trying to do as a district is try to make documents and any visual representations, flow charts, if you will, for the public to understand as far as the protocols. So the next slide shows some of the work that the team has done. This is through our PR department, through Carlos Robledo, under Carlos Robledo's leadership, with the COVID response team's work. We do have a specific guidance for students and then one for staff. And so you see if you're this, then this. If you're this, you have all the different scenarios, and that's what makes it very challenging. Now that you have vaccines available, some people are up to date with vaccines, some are not. And so that calls for different steps to take. Some individuals are test positive, some are close contacts. Do you meet the definition of a close contact? All that comes into play, and every scenario is different. Every case is considered on an individual case-by-case basis. That's why it's not so easy to answer questions on, is it 5 days, 10 days, is it this, is it, because it all depends on the individual and the individual circumstances. On the next slide, we also provided a flow chart. This is for students. So we're trying to make it as easy as we can for the public, for anyone to follow along. And then the next slide is the flow chart for staff. In your packet, I didn't add this slide, but on the presentation, everyone can see that we even added a calendar, a return to work date for staff who test positive. So that way it gives them some kind of guidance on, okay, on this day I tested positive, that's day 0. So day 1 starts the next day, and it gives them an idea of when to return back to work. So we're doing our best that we can to be as clear, to communicate effectively and efficiently and in a clear, concise, and consistent manner, so that way everyone's on the same page. Okay, so we hope that's helped. If you go onto the district's website, you'll get a pop-up with the protocols, the one-pagers. So that should be helping everybody. We sent these documents to all faculty and staff, so that way they know. So a lot of the stakeholders already have this information, and keep it handy. Everyone has to keep it handy, because it's being transmitted so much, right? The quantity of positive cases and known close contacts are increasing, so you have to have this handy as a reference.
Dr. Valdez,
Yes.
at each campus, I'm assuming that each nurse makes the final determination whether a student or a staff is positive and then quarantine for a number of days and all that?
Yes, they provide guidance.
Okay.
Yes, the nursing staff does. We're trying to keep up with contacting those who are known close contacts, because can you imagine the number of individuals the schools have to contact? That's posing a challenge because of the high numbers that we're having.
Correct.
I know in one of the previous meetings that was discussed, and I just want to clarify, you all said that you would contact trace when available and if possible according to staff, but it's not something that's...
Yes, we are still doing it. Right, Nurse Kaufman, if you will, come to the podium, please, because we're doing
Available.
because of the numbers.
Right.
We're trying to, and it's only in certain cases.
Right.
I think that we have contact traced everyone that's been positive. As far as children go, the staff, I told the nurses, we all have a dedication to contact tracing because it's ethical part of our job. We know we don't want anyone out there to get sick and not know that they've been exposed. So it's real important to the nurses. And they're staying late, they're working on the weekends, they're doing everything they can to make sure everyone has been informed.
Informed.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next portion indicates the enrollment, right? The average daily attendance. And this is throughout the state of Texas, that attendance is low. So I'm not going to go by each data element there, each metric, but you see there how overall we are minus from last year to this year in enrollment 827. This is as of January 14th, 2022. And our ADA is down about almost 3 percentage points. But that's as of January 14th. The next slide indicates by level, elementary, middle school, high school, our alternative, our ELF, and then the grand total of the difference in enrollment and ADA. And I want to remind everyone on the implications, right, as far as the budgeted ADA shortfall of 1,191 students. But remember, there is a first 6 weeks adjustment that the state will provide, that TA will provide. And then on the next slide, TEA last Thursday did provide this update. LEAs is the acronym for school districts, local educational agencies, have reported to TEA that attendance rate declines continue to occur due to COVID during the spring semester. As a result, the agency is exploring options to ensure school systems will not experience significant financial difficulties, and the agency has temporarily closed the low attendance waiver. So please expect more on this at a future date, and Commissioner Morath is fully aware of the concerns with low average daily attendance throughout the state. If you recall on the next slide, we announced this, it was announced by TEA on November 11th. Remember the first 6 weeks with the Delta variant? We were experiencing high number of cases and absences as well, and they made an adjustment to ADA. It's a mechanism to adjust, an upwards adjustment to our ADA only for the first 6 weeks, and we may hear in the future, near future, that TA may implement something like this maybe for the spring semester. Okay, so now we've talked about the increase, the spike in cases, the district protocols, our low ADA. That means children, whether they test positive or known close contacts, they're not in school in-person learning, right? So what do? There are 2 mechanisms in place. One is called remote conferencing, and the second one was passed through Senate Bill 15, which is the Weslaco ISD, what we call Virtual Learning Academy, or VLA. Those are the 2 options for our children to still receive instruction. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is remote conferencing. So remote conferencing is a mechanism by which remote instruction can be provided for students experiencing a temporary illness or who have been in close contact with someone COVID-19 positive, okay? So if someone tests positive, a student tests positive, or they're a known close contact, the parents need to reach out to the school. The school is to provide remote conferencing. And we did hyperlink the remote conferencing FAQ. It can lead parents there to any questions or staff that have questions regarding the remote conferencing. There is criteria that must be met, and that's on the next slide. But we want everyone to know that instruction can still continue, even though your child may be at home 5 days, 7 days, or up to 10 days. They can get up to 20 days in this school year. So the 2 requirements are that the student is unable to attend because of the temporary medical condition, and they can receive a total amount of no more than 20 instructional days. In addition, one of the following requirements must also be met. The temporary medical condition has to be documented by a physician licensed to practice in the United States. And the documentation must include a statement from the physician that the student is to remain confined to their home or to a hospital. And the student has a positive test result for a communicable condition listed in Chapter 25 of the Texas Administrative Code, subsection 97.7. So COVID-19 falls under that. So please know that although some children need to be home, they're either quarantined or isolated, we still are providing instructional services via remote conferencing. Some of our Weslaco ISD children receive special education services. So the next slide asks, can special education students participate in remote conferencing? And what are the requirements for special education students to participate in remote conferencing? The answers are yes. It comes down to the student's ARD committee. ARD committee is the student's admission, review, and dismissal committee. So they must have determined in a manner consistent with state and federal law that the remote instruction to be provided is required for the provision of FAPE, which is free, appropriate public education, and the ARD committee must have documented that determination in the student's individualized education program, otherwise known as IEP. So the student's committee has to come together. But yes, they are provided the remote conferencing option should they meet the criteria. Okay, so the next slide, I mentioned the virtual learning academy that we have, right? That we launched in the fall semester. There are key differences between remote conferencing, that's for a temporary illness, like COVID-19. I tested positive for COVID-19. I'm a student. My mom, my dad, somebody, guardian needs to call the school and tell them of the outcome of my medical condition, and then that triggers the remote conferencing. The local remote learning program through Senate Bill 15, our virtual learning academy, that's through an application process. Remember, we can only have 10% of our kids participate in that, and that's for students that have a temporary or long-term medical condition. But there's stricter criteria to gain acceptance into the virtual learning academy, but everything is there laid out for everyone. If anybody has any questions, they can always call the campus or call central office. Let's go to the slide with remote conferencing or the virtual learning academy numbers, so we can update the Board of Trustees and the public how many students we have participating in remote conferencing and how many are participating in the virtual learning academy. You have the numbers there broken down by campus. Remember, remote conferencing, that's if you test positive, you can stay home and receive virtual remote learning. You have the first semester counts and then the second semester counts. So let's look at Weslaco High School. First semester, they had 123 students who were provided remote conferencing. And now, semester 2, just starting off this semester, which we just started, 334 have qualified. Whether they're positive, COVID positive, or known close contacts, or any other situation going on with a medical condition. So those are the numbers. To your right, you have the Virtual Learning Academy. In elementary, these numbers have stayed pretty consistent. We have 214 students with elementary Virtual Learning Academy, 53 middle school, and 20 high school students participating. So that's student information. Let's move on to staff information, which is the concern that we have, right? When it comes to the spike in numbers, yes, we understand children will fall ill, and we have mechanisms in place for them. However, when staff gets ill or become known close contacts, that's when we may have sporadic shifts in providing services, right? So look at the counts just from Monday the 10th to today on the number of staff absences and how many, for example, let's look at Monday, January 10th, the first day back from that extended winter break. There were 299 absences, jobs, if you will. 103 went unfilled with substitutes. So that's the challenge that all school districts, doesn't matter if it's Texas, but throughout our country, that are experiencing. It's the staff shortages. Look at today, we had 292 absent whether it's COVID leave, personal leave, or sick leave. And we had 92 unfilled open jobs. And so a principals meeting was hosted last Thursday, and we want to thank our campus administrative teams and also central office staff, because we've called upon central office staff to fill in the holes, the gaps where they exist. Doesn't matter who it is, we're sending staff from here to help. We have also relied on, and we thank teachers out there, because we may have to collapse. If this classroom only has 4 students in attendance today, and they need help with, a 3rd grade classroom that there are 20 there today, we may separate the 4 to another class, and then teachers helping with the other classroom that has the 20. It's gonna take teamwork. It has to take all of us working together with the understanding that it's temporary. And when great teams work together, we're there to hold the rope for each other. We're there to lift each other up, and we're counting on everyone in the team to help. And so that's the challenge. That's why we talk about sporadic shifts here and there. We don't anticipate any district-wide closures. There are some neighboring districts that are closing, but we don't anticipate that. But of course, you can never forecast or predict, right, of what's happening given the circumstances. And then the final slide, I just want to remind everyone the resources available, and they're listed there. We are having vaccination clinics every 3 weeks at all campuses. Weslaco ISD is participating in that COVID-19 testing project, meaning that we can provide testing for our staff. We do have PCR testing at the USDA building. You know that the rapid tests, those are hard to obtain. We've reached out to Region 1. Region 1 is then networking with the agency, with TEA, to get the rapid tests as well. We have everything in place. It's just charging on, moving forward, and pushing through. And so we thank everybody for once again, for their understanding, their flexibility, and just the ability to pivot at any point. So thank you so much. That is the end of the interim superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Valdez. Let the record reflect that Mr. Andrew Gonzalez joined the meeting at 6:06. And Carlos has asked for a 5-minute pause to do some corrective work on the audio. Am I correct, Carlos?
Correct. Our main receiver in the podium went out right before the board meeting, so I'd like just 5 minutes to rewire, and we'll be back on.
Okay, so we'll take a temporary break. The time now is 6:36. We'll take a little 5-minute break. Time now is 6:50. And we're going to continue with the regular board meeting, starting with the item 10, consent agenda. Trustees, look at your agenda items, and then we'll go through and see if there's anything that you want to pull. Okay. I'll go by and ask board members if there's anything they care to pull. Mr. Nieto?
None.
Host Trevino?
None.
Dr. Rodriguez?
None.
Mr. Los Santos?
None.
Mr. Gonzalez?
None.
And none for me. Okay, let's take it to a vote. For your approval, signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Jose Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. De Los Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on consent agenda. That takes us to item,
Coach Cuellar, you want to clarify, because we didn't make a motion,
pardon?
we didn't have a motion in a second.
I'm sorry, let's,
So, just to clarify,
okay,
just
do-
for,
do I have a motion to approve?
so move.
I have one from Mr. Nieto and a second by Coach Trevino.
Okay, so now we're clear.
So now we're clear. So
Perfect.
we did have a motion by Mr. Nieto and a second by Coach Trevino to approve the consent agenda, and everyone voted unanimously.
Correct.
Now we'll go on. Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
Item 11, discussion items. A, the interim financial report for the fourth month ended in December 31st, 2021. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, no action is required in this item, but we do, there's recommendation for you to acknowledge the interim financial reports for the 4 months ending the year December 31st, 2021. We do have Mr. Andres Sanchez. You may proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Cuellar. Thank you, Dr. Velez, members of the board. For the 4 months ended December 31, 2021, in the general fund, we had an adjusted amended budget of $177,282,387. So far, in those 4 months, we have received $69,541,000, which represents 39% of the budget in revenues. Next slide, please. The next slide has the expenditures. I have them grouped in 5 different areas: instructional support, administration, district-wide support, and debt service. The total amended budget for expenditures through December 31 is $180,546,302. The amount expended or encumbered is $53,259,654, which represents 29.50% of the budget. The next slide that we have is a reconciliation of items that were added to the expenditure budget after the budget was adopted. And I'm going to cover a couple of them, because these are the ones that make our budget look like we're overspent, because we brought some items from fund balance that needed to be added. The first item is the first line on the next slide. For carryover of state allotment funds, that is for $6,625,000.81. These are funds from the state that we needed to spend, and we didn't get to spend them by August 31 of the prior year. So we had to roll them. They get added to fund balance, restricted fund balance at the end of the year. So for the 21-22 year, we added them to the budget. We rolled forward purchase orders that were issued, but items were not received through August 31 of 21 for $215,000. And another major item here, we got band uniforms for Weslaco ISD High School, $146,000. We added another human resource administrator to the budget of $107,000. Skip a page, the next one. Thank you. There was an additional roll forward of state funds, so $187,000 for the Rider 78, that's for the pre-K students. And the total of all those items that were added to the budget from fund balance was $7,671,711. That amount, next slide, please. That amount, when added to the original budget approved by the board for expenditures of $172,874,591, gives us the total amount of the amended budget of $180,546,302. That is the report on the financial report. Any questions?
I was going to ask, when does I know that there is like we were talking about the ADA earlier, and the state might have some other type of assistance for school districts. I know we talked about, ESSER and reclassification, and then we talked about, staffing through attrition, but at what time, what's the window when you all start to develop the 22-23?
We're gonna get started pretty soon. We're
Right.
working on the timeline right now. Yes, because that one has to be approved before June 30.
Right, yeah, early spring. So is there typically like a workshop where it's kind of brought to, rather than being brought to our attention to approve, is there a workshop for the development? Because I know we're looking at also the enrollment, the ADA going to next year.
Yes, and I will get with you and Mr. Cuellar,
Okay,
as members of the Budget Committee, to discuss that, yes.
okay, sir.
We're already scheduling that, remember,
Yes.
Coach Trevino's request on the delinquent tax, so we can also
Well,
combine.
okay, on February 3rd, and we can add something at that time.
It may not be February 3rd, but we're looking after
Okay,
for,
that's fine.
on the proposed date.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
If there are none, Andres, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item B, acknowledgement of the Hidalgo County Tax Office Collection Report for December 2021, current taxes and delinquent taxes.
I
Dr.
couldn't
Valdez.
speak before, I was out of line on the
Yes,
agenda.
Mr. Sanchez, you may proceed on this
Yeah,
item. An
we do
update.
not have the report, we did not receive it. So
Correct.
there's no report to present.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
provide it at the next one.
Thank you
you.
there. Item 12, discussion and possible action items. A, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval to change the regular board meeting scheduled on March 15, 2022. Dr. Valdez?
Yes. Board of Trustees, March 15th we're closed for spring break. So we need to change, schedule another date. So you do have two dates there. We do have Thursday, March 10th, 2022, or Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. We do prefer the Thursday, however, we can work around whichever one. It doesn't matter, whichever y'all want. I know there's some trustees that cannot make it on Thursdays, so you may prefer Tuesday. It's up to you.
Can we do the 9th, by any chance?
Yes, we could do the 9th too, as a possible date. So it's either having it before spring break or after spring break.
I'm good with whatever.
Man, I'm fine with majority. Wednesday's fine with me.
Wednesday the 9th?
Make the thing, yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr.
I'll second.
Gonzalez to have,
The regular board meeting scheduled for March the 15th, to have it on March the 9th, 2022.
Second,
okay, we have a second by Mr. Nieto.
yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez to move the meeting to the 9th of March, and a second by Mr. Nieto. Any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval, saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Coach Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries. That's for March the 9th, correct?
Correct.
Item B, discussion and possible action for the board to consider renaming the WISD Performing Arts Center to the Susan M. Peterson Center for the Performing and Visual Arts. Dr. Valdez.
Administration recommends the renaming of the WISD Performing Arts Center in honor of Mrs. Susan M. Peterson. You know, Mrs. Peterson, a longtime Wesco educator. She especially supported our fine arts students and the entire department, right? So we have met the guidelines for naming facilities as established by board policy. And so the guidelines, a timetable of not less than 3 months. And so we did bring this forward on August 11th, 2021, and so we did discuss it, and it's met the timeline. So administration recommends your approval in renaming the PAC to Susan M. Peterson Center for the Performing and Visual Arts.
So move to approve?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Nieto,
Yes.
make the motion to approve, and a second by Mr. Los Santos to approve the naming of the Performing Arts Center of Visual Arts to Susan M. Peterson. Is there any discussion?
I think it's a good representation for Mrs. Peterson. I had the opportunity to work with her as a principal for 6-7 years, and then, of course, later on here at central office. So it's a good tribute to Mrs. Peterson.
Anybody else? Okay, and I second that, Mr. Nieto, having worked with Mrs. Peterson, and I couldn't have worked with a more wonderful person and somebody who was more caring for the school district, so very, very deserving honor. Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Costa Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item C, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a procurement method of construction for the Bobby Lackey Stadium running track replacement. 1, board determination of a procurement method of construction that will provide the best value to the district for the project. 2, board determination to retain the authority to rank the proposals to be received for this project, or board delegation of their authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received. And 3, approval of criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, Board of Trustees, our track surfaces at various stadiums or facilities are in need of improvement. We want to begin the work with Bobby Lackey Stadium. That is where a lot of our competitions, as far as for track and field, are hosted. The surface has delaminated or detached from the asphalt base, and so it presents a safety concern for our student athletes. And so administration recommends the competitive seal proposals method of construction. We will leave it up to you whether you want to make the board makes the determination to retain their authority to rank the proposals, or you delegate the authority to administration to rank the proposals, and that the board approves the criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals. The work is to start May 31st. I did check on graduation dates just to make sure that we don't run into a conflict with graduation commencement exercises at Bobby Lackey Stadium. We do have Coach Freddie Rodriguez, our athletic director, here, should you have any questions.
I make a motion for the board to retain the authority to rank the proposals to be received for this project.
Okay, we have a motion by Costa Trevino for the board to retain the,
You want to do the first part?
You want to do the first
Coach?
part, Coach?
Competitive seal proposal, and then for the board to rank it, and then to follow
okay,
it.
so let's go with the board determination of the procurement method of
Okay.
construction that will provide the best value.
Okay.
And to use the criteria, that way we can vote on it.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is,
I always hate doing those ones.
For us to use a procurement method of construction that will provide the best value and retain, and for the board to retain the authority to rank the proposal
is that in order?
for this project.
Okay, and then we have second by
De Los Santos.
Mr. De Los Santos.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any, yes, Andres?
Coach Trevino, okay with the competitive seal proposal method?
For,
The competitive seal proposals method of
Is that
construction?
what you recommend?
Yes,
yes.
Okay, sorry.
My question is just as far as funding. Is this a project that was already in the works, something that's been budgeted, or?
No.
No.
So where would the funding be coming from?
Unassigned fund balance. Unfortunately. No, not in the budget. None of the facilities are in the budget.
And we're talking, what is the proposed cost there?
About $500,000.
Yes, around 500, worst case scenario, 500,000, with the asphalt if needed to be replaced. And that's what the concern is the asphalt.
Okay. And what's the current the balance there for the unassigned fund balance?
So, say that again?
The balance right now that we currently have?
In the unassigned
In
fund
the
balance,
unassigned
how
fund
much
balance.
do we have in the?
Sorry.
Yes.
With fund for, at the end of 2021, which will be explained at the audit, will be 50 million. So we're going to have a little extra for these projects.
All right.
my
Thank you.
question to Mr. Rodriguez is, to Coach is, when was the last time we replaced the track? I know you weren't AD, but
Yeah, Coach, in 2017, they did an overlay, an overpour. They didn't replace the track, they just removed the red surface and brought in new red surface, kind of like a sandwich.
okay.
And that's what's causing, that we had a major flood in 2019. So now because we blanket the original surface, all the humidity, the moisture is getting trapped in the asphalt, which is damaged, causing the track to bubble all over the place. It's real mushy. So that warrant's about to expire from the 2017 job that they did on that track.
Okay, and I guess that is my concern.
Yes.
You know, we're putting a new track,
Mhm.
but are we addressing the main problem, the main issue?
Yes.
What's gonna happen the next time we have a significant flood?
So we had several companies come in and look at both tracks at East, because I'm targeting East for next year, and I'm looking at them. And they all agreed that the asphalt is really the main concern, the damaged asphalt underneath the surface that's trapping all the humidity and it's damaged. So that's why we're looking at, we need to go in there. Once we remove it and we see the asphalt does need to be replaced, it's already budgeted with what we have here. If it's not, it'll come out cheaper. But all companies that came in, they said the asphalt is the issue in that track there, that area.
So you'll start at the foundation?
Yeah, we're gonna start the foundation.
Okay.
Now, if we can, if everything goes well, we do want to start the first week of May so we can clear out some debris, so we can have graduation, and then continue so we can have in time for football season also. So that's one option that we might have also to look at.
So are they gonna be able to use it right now, run on it this year?
Yes, sir, because it's been getting patchwork for the past 2-3 years, Coach, Mr. Trevino. So we're currently fixing up today, as a matter of fact, we finished today, the patchwork that needed to get done in order to get our track season in, because we have several track meets
Yes.
right around the corner and that, and big, we're talking about
We normally
hosting
host
district
some
and
of the bigger
area,
ones in the valley.
soccer, so, we're hosting the big meets. So yes, it should be done today, this afternoon.
Okay.
But Freddie, what's the timeline on the, when they start of it? How long?
When do we start the project?
How long will it take?
It's 3 months. Well, the whole complete project will take around 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months.
Now, should something happen, it will probably be right in the middle of the hurricane season.
Right.
Who knows
Yeah.
what may happen?
Raining season.
For the things that we can't control weather-wise,
Yeah.
has Coach Roman will he have made arrangements to practice wherever and not lose,
Yeah, because the coach,
preparation time?
the turf will be fine. We can be on the turf and practice on the turf. It's just, getting really maybe worst case scenario, the early games, non-district games for East and High. If the track's not ready, maybe try to reschedule those games away if possible. That's going to be our backup plan. So I'll discuss this with Coach Burgett and Coach Stroman and see if we can have backup plans in case for some reason we get a delay because of weather. We have Plan B to move on forward.
that's something to prepare for, because other school districts have done similar things, and it's just a
Yes.
matter of being prepared with Plan B, Plan C.
Yes.
Okay, so, any further questions? So the motion was for a determination of the procurement method of construction, board determination. They'll provide the best value to the school district, and for the board to determine, Coach Trevino?
Correct.
For the board to determine the authority to rank the proposal?
Yes, sir.
This was your motion, and it was seconded by
De Los Santos.
Mr. De Los Santos.
Competitive seal, Coach.
Okay, so now let's vote on that. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Coach Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. De Los Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of an order authorizing the issuance of an amount not to exceed $12,735,000 Weslaco Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refund Bonds, taxable Series 2022, levying a continuing direct annual ad valorem tax and providing for the security and payment thereof, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions, and resolving order matters incident and related to the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bonds, including the approval and distribution of an official statement pertaining thereto, and authorizing the authorized representative to approve the amount, interest rate, the terms thereof, and certain other procedures and provisions relating thereto, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase contract relating to said bond, a paying agent - registrar agreement, and an escrow agreement, providing an effective date and enacting other provisions relating to this subject and purposes of this order. Dr. Valdez.
The school district currently has the opportunity to refinance a portion of our long-term unlimited tax debt for economic savings. The current low interest rates allow the district to achieve debt service cash flow savings for immediate budget relief. The district can issue unlimited tax refunding bonds, and that's our taxable series 2022, the refunding bonds. Administration recommends that the Board of Trustees consider approval of an order authorizing the issuance of an amount not to exceed $12,735,000 of the Weslaco Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, taxable series 2022.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez,
I'll second.
a second by Dr. Rodriguez for the agenda that I just read. Is there any discussion?
No questions.
I would have liked just to have a workshop or have this included in the workshop before taking action on this.
Mr. Vela, I know the last time you presented to us, is this kind of, we got to hit it now? Because the rates benefit us?
Yes. What you have before you is what is called a parameters authorization. What a parameters authorization does, it delegates the authority to price to any one number of persons. It could be the superintendent, it could be your business person, it could be a member of the board, it could be any members that you desire to have. Now, this is authorized under the local government code, section 1207. And what it does, what it's designed to do is to allow flexibility in the pricing in interest markets that are volatile, that are moving either up or down. It gives you the opportunity to optimize on the trends of interest rates, whether they're going up or they're going down. Now, one of the features in the memorandum and the write-up that that Andres Sanchez did is that it gives you the opportunity for 6 months to look forward. So let's say that we targeted a date of February the 15th to sell the bonds, and the market wasn't there, or that the savings were not something that the district wanted to take advantage of. In other words, they were too low. Well, with this parameters order, you don't have to come back to the board, but you can continue to monitor the rates with the help of your staff, the pricing officers, your financial advisor, and your underwriter. So there's that continuous exchange. So it's a tool that provides flexibility to try to achieve a goal. And what is the goal? Well, the goal is to achieve a certain level of savings. Now, there's certain things that under that cannot be extended. For example, the maturities cannot be extended for the 2015 B bonds that are being, so they would stay as February the 15th of 2036. So that doesn't change. So there's no moving of the goalpost.
That was my concern, yes. Okay.
The other thing, You can recommend a certain level of savings if that's what you want to do in terms of parameters. You can also link it to a present value number. It's all detailed in that memorandum that my partner Andre wrote, as well as the excellent synopsis that Mr. Sanchez did. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to ask.
No, sir, that was my concern, making sure we didn't extend
No, you won't.
this. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Vela.
you so much.
Appreciate you clearing that up for us.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let's take it to a vote then. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto. Aye. Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Dos Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item E, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a contract for the hiring of bond counsel on a contingency fee basis. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, so we need to select or approve the contract for hiring of the recommendation for Bickerstaff Heath Delgado Acosta LLP of Austin, Texas as bond counsel on a contingency fee basis. And we have Andres Sanchez here. You may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Valdez. Mr. Gregory Miller is a partner with the Bickerstaff Law Firm in Austin. He is one of the attorneys that have represented us before when we have bonds or maintenance tax notes. And I understand from Mr. Miller that in 2019, the state legislature, made a change that required now that bond counsels contracts have to be approved when it is a contract contingent basis. In the past, we just said, this is bond counsel, they're working with us, and we went along with everything. They helped us with all the paperwork, go through the Attorney General, evaluate things, and we went with that. Now we have to have a contract in place. Mr. Miller has been working with us on this process for a while, but he needs to have a contract approved by the board. That's why we bring it for the board's consideration for approval.
I only have one question, but I'll go ahead and let you speak, sir.
Okay, thank you. And members of the board, Interim Superintendent, it's really good to be here tonight with you. I want to clarify that the legislation change in 2019 specifies that local governments need to go through certain procedures to hire contingent fee attorneys. It wasn't targeting bond attorneys. It wasn't about bond attorneys specifically. I can give you a little bit of background about it. There are some plaintiffs' attorneys who represent local governments who went out and did a little too good of a job in suing certain corporations, and so they figured that plaintiff attorneys who need to work on contingent fee should go through an extra level of hiring process. Bond attorneys, as you know, are exclusively, 99% of the time, I can't think of any other instance in which they're not hired on a contingent fee. So bond attorneys got swept into this legislation. And what we mean when we say contingent fee is we get paid out of the proceeds of the bond transaction. If the bond transaction doesn't occur, then we don't receive any payment for that. I could also add a little bit more background. We've been serving the county, the district, since 2015. And we're very proud to have been able to do that. Our firm was established in 1980 to serve local governments such as school districts across the state. We are, to my knowledge, the largest law firm who focuses in Texas on serving local governments. And I'm proud to say that we also, unlike a lot of bond firms, we have an office in McAllen, Texas, which is serviced by Kevin Pagan. So we're proud of our representation here in this part of Texas and look forward to continuing working with y'all. Okay. Any questions, I'm happy to take as well.
So I had a question, but it was for Mr. Sepulveda. Just so that, and thank you for helping us in the past, do we have to follow an RFQ? Then I'm good. That was my only question.
My concern is, why aren't we given options, Andres, or why was, and nothing against Bickerstaff, but just, why are we given the option to select this? Why are we just being told, hey, this is who's out there? I'd like to see other people, see what they have to offer, or see the back. I don't understand why we weren't given that.
Well, Mr. Trevino, with all due respect, when we started with the process, we started working with Mr. Vela, and I called on the firm, because they are the one that helped us with the information that we studied, and we presented to the board a couple of times already before. And we've always done it like that. We bring them, they help us, and that's what we've done before. As
Yes,
far as,
but we have,
I understand.
But you-
That is why we did it like that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have. But this time, I don't know that we have much time for, invite all the attorneys to see what they have. But it's up to the board.
yeah, I would just, I like option. I like to, I don't understand why, I mean, I understand what you're telling me right now, but I would have liked to have an option and have somebody present, just like he presented, a little bit of his background. I'd like to have that option of being able to go out and see what else is out there.
Okay.
And I understand he may have been with the district for a long time, but,
No, yes.
it's always good to see what else, see the waters and see what else is out there.
Is there a timetable, Mr. Sanchez?
Well, like Mr. Vela was saying, we're looking forward to hopefully have a sale of the bonds
In February?
on February 15. And I'm a CPA, I'm not a financial person, but I know market conditions and the rates are supposed to be going up 4 times a year, beginning pretty soon. So we might end up paying higher rates and have less savings on the interest that we're gonna save on payments. I don't know if the denying it will affect that. I just wanna
But
make that comment.
If I'm not mistaken, this was actually brought up by, I think myself, like sometime in October, November, and that's when we got the ball rolling on this sale of the bond and so forth. Because prior to that, that hadn't been brought up at all.
But, true, we hadn't brought it up to the board, you're correct. I had received the information, I had discussed it with Dr. Valdez, but because we were going through the forensic audit, we didn't bring it up to the board. That is the only reason we didn't bring it. Mr. Vela and his company have been working on keeping us abreast of the rates, of the chances to refinance the bonds for about 1.5 years, I believe. And I discussed it with Dr. Canales a couple of times, but again, because of the forensic audit, we didn't bring it up.
Yes, sir. Here's my concern, I guess, is if we were, obviously we want to take advantage of the rates, but if we were really concerned about the rates, this would have been presented back then and we would have got the ball rolling on this. Here we are at this point right now, it's sort of just being thrown at us and I don't agree with the way it's being just thrown at us. I would have liked options.
Okay? So you let us know what you'd like us to do,
So
as a board.
I know we're not in discussion. Let's make a motion because I'd like to say something in discussion. So
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Do we have
second
a
it.
motion to approve by Mr. Gonzalez?
Second?
A second by Mr. Nieto to approve the
The hiring.
approval of a contract for the hiring of the board counsel on a contingency fee basis. Any discussion?
Yeah, so I'm along with Mr. Trevino, and I think we all feel, I think an RFQ should have been done. I know we're butting to February, and we're gonna, for the potential savings. But I'd like to see in the future that this comes to us a lot sooner rather than later. So that we give everybody an opportunity to at least present. That's all I have to say on that.
We will do that.
What's the timeline on securing bond counsel? If the sale, and I have experience in the selling of bonds and seeing it in action for a school district. So what's the timeline securing bond counsel? If the sale's potentially on February 15th?
So, I don't want to put Mr. Miller on the spot, but go ahead. He done work on it. So
I don't
he
know
can
the
tell you better.
timeline.
And I completely understand Mr. Trevino's concerns, and so I'm not trying to say this in any kind of way, except for that we've prepared a lot of documents for the transaction already. So the ball is kind of rolling, and I'm not saying somebody else couldn't step in and draft the documents. So one way to put, I don't really know how to answer the question except to say somebody could step in and draft the documents. I don't think that, I don't know how problematic it would be for another council to step in. But I would say that we've been following this process and we've drafted the order that you voted on tonight. We've prepared all the documents to get ready for a sale, within the next few weeks. So from our perspective, we're ready to go and we've done what we've needed to do as bond counsel to get it to this point and to prepare for closing. So that's really the only input I have.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
It was, I understand that this item was talked about with previous administration.
Yes.
And when Mr. Sanchez brought it up to me, I said, we need to start it because of the low interest rates and to take advantage of where they are at. But I know that it was talked about with previous administration.
Yes.
I don't know why, Coach, I don't know why they didn't pursue, but given the situation with the market, I thought it would benefit the district. Now, as far as, I agree, the seeking the options of bond counsel,
But,
and
Mr.
having that option.
Mr. Bickerstaff, when were you guys hired then? I mean, it seems like they were hired, they had all the paperwork, and now it's coming to approval?
Go ahead.
It's, we've been bond counsel for the district since 2015, and typically the way that that's worked is we've had an engagement agreement with you, and every time a bond transaction came up over the years, we were called to serve as bond counsel. The contract was not renewed each time. The one thing that has happened in the intervening years is the new legislation. And so that kind of brought to everybody's attention, we need to get a new contract. And so that's why we're here. Yeah, I don't know how else to answer that, really. Oh, sorry.
I guess it doesn't fall on yourself.
Right.
I mean, I'm understanding, is it an auto renewal then, Andres? Or I would have, again, like to have options and
Yeah,
be
I
able to
understand.
do RFQs or something. And we're not gonna take that away from your work, what you've done, Mr. Bickerstaff, but,
Yeah.
like Andrew said, in the future,
We'll go for RFQs.
yes. On anything from this point on that was handled back with the other previous board members or whatever, anything coming up, I don't want any or just automatic renewals of being hit like this, because it's just,
I understand.
And if I could, Mr. Sanchez, you'll notice the agreement does, and I'm not doing a very good job of marketing here. You'll notice that the contract has a 30-day termination to it. So if you approve the agreement this evening, and we can help you get through this, if it's your desire, we can help you get through this transaction, and the contract can be terminated with 30 days notice. And I do hope you keep us in mind. Your next round, we'd love to be invited to apply to continue to serve you, but it's not a multi-year contract. So.
okay, I appreciate you stating that.
Thank you.
And we'll do that, Coach Trevino and Mr. Gonzalez, we'll do that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for the approval of a contract with this firm. Let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval, saying aye. I'll call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Mr. Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item F, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of revisions to the Weslaco ISD compensation plan for fiscal year 2021-2022 to reflect substitute teacher daily rate and Director of Assessment and Accountability extra duty stipend. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, our recommendation is that the board approve the substitute teacher daily rate that we're going to recommend. Our substitute teachers deserve an increase, and I know other local districts, neighboring districts have also moved forward with pay increases, and so we are asking for your approval on that, and then also a stipend for our Director of Assessment and Accountability, and we do have HR directors here available, should you have any questions.
I move to approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez to approve and a second by Mr. Nieto for the consideration of the approval of revisions to the Weslaco ISD compensation plan for the fiscal year 2021-2022 to reflect substitute teacher daily rate and Director of Assessment and Accountability Extra Duty stipend. Is there any discussion?
Thank you for the information. I know it's a lot of work comparing the other school districts. You know, I know we can't compete to those to the west that are twice the size of us, but for the Mid-Valley, I think this is a great step. You know, all the documentation stating, you know, starting January 24th and ending May of 26, and then we'll have to relook at what we want to do down the road. But again, thank you to both of you for your hard work and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it to the table, because I know that was one of the biggest issues, and even substitutes, which are retirees and whatnot, were reaching out that they had no choice but to go to, of course, where the pay was higher, which was limiting a lot of our campuses with availability and pulling staff from all the different departments. So, you know, this is really great that this finally got brought to the table.
And trustees, as soon as we saw that in the last week and a half or so, we knew we wanted to stay competitive in our Mid-Valley market. So that's kind of what set the amounts, or what we're bringing to you to set the amounts.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So it's a significant increase. The daily rates for a diploma or GED individual, $105, 60 hours or more of college, $120 a day. If you're degreed, $150, and certified, $180. So it does surpass our Mid-Valley market.
And you can see as part of your packet, we have kind of an advertisement as soon as, again, pending approval. We want to get this rolled out tomorrow in the attempt, hopefully, that we can attract more individuals or get those that are in our system but that haven't filled out their applications completely, so we can try to bring them forward, because we've already scheduled another orientation for next Friday, the 28th of January.
Doc, you sure I can eat sub?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really.
Sure.
Thank you for your
appreciate it.
diligence and attention to the matter.
Do we have a hotline or not hotline, but just somebody keeping track of that? Because I have been reached out by several people that have been, obviously now that they see the price increase or the pay increase, now they're trying to make phone calls or trying to get in touch with, but they're saying they're not being followed up on.
One of our staff members that would be tracking the portal, just back in the building this week, had to be out last week for some days.
Okay.
And in addition to that, then our individual that's working with the substitutes has just been inundated.
Okay.
Just inundated with the numbers. So it's been a battle. But if they'll reach out, if they'll be patient, if they'll send emails even, Coach, we'll follow up and check on those that are asking and stuff. But we are working through it. But we realize, again, with short a staff member for a week that really monitors that portal, and again, our one individual has just been inundated with calls.
Right, on top of all the absences that we've had. But just to use this as a forum also, just today, we counted about 94 applications for substitutes that have come in that are missing something. So the applications aren't complete. So anyone out there that's applied that sees this, this video, get in there and complete your application. That's the most important part. Usually that's the holdup. It's not so much that we don't have applicants, it's that they don't complete the process, because there's so many things that they need to attach and so many questions to fill out. So what we do is we call them. Once we go through, like Mr. Buttermer was saying, the person there that does the brunt of that work, it's actually a few people in the office. But when you have that backlog also, of having to find subs for campuses that are short, subs this week, it kind of ties us up. So we're having to do both. We're having to make sure that campuses have the support, and then also contact those 94 people that need 1 or 2 documents that'll get them pushed through. So that's our goal this week, is to get those pushed through so that next Friday, we can have them all signed up and hopefully taking advantage of this new pay rate, should it pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Mr. Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Dos Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a resolution regarding wage payments to district employees during district closing from January 4th, 2022 through January 7th, 2022 due to a spike in COVID-19 cases within the Weslaco ISD community. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, so due to the spike in cases, in COVID cases, we had to shut down the school district and extend our winter break. So if you recall, January 5th, 6th, and 7th, students and majority of the staff were to report back to work. But due to the closure, now we're bringing forward, and administration recommends your approval of the resolution to pay regarding wage payments, to pay our district employees for those days. We do have DEA local board policy for also premium pay as stipulated by that policy for non-exempt employees who were required to come in for emergency preparations in that case. So you have listed there below you the different departments that we did have some staff that needed to come in to prep. So we're asking for your recommendation.
Make a motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mr. Nieto.
By
De Los Santos.
Go ahead, Mr. De Los Santos.
second.
And second by Mr. Nieto.
We also have some updated information as far as the makeup days for staff, the making up of those days.
That's correct, Dr. Valdez. And just this afternoon, we were contacted by TASB. They've been actually getting a whole lot of calls on this because we're not the only district that's been going through this. And so we were just informed that the resolution, while we indicated specific days that the staff was actually out, that the district was actually closed, that should we choose to, we could provide a time frame instead of specific days. So that if, and I spoke with Cheryl Hoover actually at TASB, and she said if this should happen again because of, in light of the current situation, if the board would like to provide instead a window, and that way you don't have to come back to resolution. You could just, through this resolution, for example, you could say from January 5th through, or yes, January 4th, thank you, Dan. From January 4th through May 27th, which is our last work day, then that would cover the entire time frame of this semester should this come up again and we need to shut down the district again.
And they will not have to make up.
Yes, and that's
Right.
the good
Days.
news is with this resolution, employees will not have to make up those days.
The hourly employees, right? Yeah.
Correct.
And they'll still get paid.
Correct. And any
Hourly
employees,
and-
no one will have to make up these days through this resolution.
Exempt and non-exempt employees.
That was verification through, with
At
TASB.
4:45 this afternoon, we received that final verification from them.
Yeah, because I know that we had all discussed that if we have to shut down again, and it's for the safety of the students and the staff, that it would be all staff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so
Correct.
that resolution would clear the whole semester.
Yes.
Correct. If you choose, again, that's not the way that it's written here because we just got that confirmation at 4:45 today. So if you choose to amend that, you could provide a time frame, a range, rather than just these specific dates.
I move to approve this resolution from January 4th, 2022.
Oh, we did it already.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah, we did, we're just
At
discussing.
least, yeah, I'm too slow then.
That's right.
Where am I?
Yeah, we already approved,
Rescind the-
Except,
yeah, so I'd have to rescind it,
Yes.
and include the,
rescind the original approval, and say that we're extending this resolution from January 5th,
To the 27th.
January
January 4th.
4th.
Because some
Through May
employees were to
27th.
report
January 4th through May
27th.
27th.
Okay, so we have a rescind to the original motion
Right,
by Mr. Los Santos. And the motion is
right.
to add the January 4th through
May
May
27th?
27.
May
27th.
27th,
27th,
yes, sir.
okay? Due to COVID spikes that may occur with the Weslaco ISD community.
Correct.
So I have a motion by Mr. Los Santos. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Mr. Nieto.
Yes.
I can't hear.
Okay, we have discussed this. Is there any further discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote then. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Mr. Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a budget amendment in the local maintenance fund to allocate funds in the amount of $167,446 for the payment of DR-1780, PW 287, or is that 2089, 319, to reimburse the Texas Division of Emergency Management for federal FEMA funds be obligated as part of Hurricane Dolly. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, this is an item that was brought to my attention, and it's been a long-standing item in the district that's been pending. So this is for work that was done out of federal FEMA funds, and some of the work through an audit noted some disallowed amounts for the project. So the district is still responsible for some of those payments, which is one of $56,250, and the other one is $111,195.45 for the total of the $167,446. And so we need to rectify, we need to remedy this by paying that entity back, which is through FEMA, resulting in the disallowed overpayments. So we need to take care of this outstanding amount. We do have staff here available should you have any questions.
Yes. You know, on paper, this doesn't appear to be a big deal, but it is because it's a $167,466 mistake. I don't know if you were when it first started in 2008, and then in 2013, there was an audit, and that's when I'm assuming this came to light, is from what I understand?
Yes, that's when they did it, and then we got notified
So-
later on.
So, I don't know if you guys, I mean, this is a big mistake that our district now is having to pay for. And obviously, we don't have the details, what job was done and what was overpaid, what wasn't overpaid. Do you have any of that
Yeah,
information?
if you look at the third paragraph on the rationale, we explained when Hurricane Dolly happened, we needed to start cleaning up the district. So risk management department at the time, somebody before Mr. De La Rosa, contacted a company to help us clean up. And the company came right away, started cleaning up, and took care of it. And at the time, I thought that company that had come, since I hadn't contacted them, that had come through part of the insurance program that we had. I found out about a year later that we received a check from the insurance company for a payment as part of that claim. And then I realized at that time that we were going to have to pay the contractor. And later on, we did a purchase order to the company, who is a buy board vendor. But the buy board has a process that when you do the purchase orders through the buy board, you have to send it to the buy board sends it to the company. That way the purchase order becomes compliant with purchasing procedures of the co-op. We did not do that. And the PO was given to the risk manager at the time instead of sending it to the buy board ourselves. And we missed it. At the time when it happened, it was an emergency. We were trying to contact the company, and that's what happened.
And this was back in 2008, when this occurred?
Yes.
Yes.
And if I may, Coach Davian, let me give you a little bit of perspective of how these things work. So anytime there's a major disaster, say a hurricane, any disaster declared by the federal government, FEMA. So as you know, during a hurricane, we do have insurance, yes, but our deductible jumps up to a percentage of the building's value. So there's a big gap between our deductible and when the claim will finally be paid. So what, in this instance, and back in 2008, and Mr. Andres is right, I wasn't here, but I have dealt with FEMA several times since then. So we will apply for assistance through FEMA to cover the gap of our deductible, and then when our insurance actually covers the amount. So there are rigorous procurement processes that we have to follow, and you have seen that we have brought items to the board ratifying emergency purchases that we made as far as the past disasters that we've had. So again, back in 2008, there were approximately 20 what's called PWs, it's project worksheets. Out of those 20, they focused into these two and found out that this little part was deobligated because, as Mr. Andres Sanchez says, did not follow the correct purchasing procedures, through an oversight on the department. So again, the initial audit was in 2013. We got the findings, we appealed. We didn't hear anything else until 2017. Again, we've been appealing left and right. We've been contacting local officials, so we've been fighting this for quite a while. So finally, we got a letter from FEMA that kind of said, hey, you guys are on the hook for this. There is still an opportunity to continue this further. My concern was that I didn't want this amount to impede or interfere with any future FEMA funding or even any future ESSER funding. Because again, we're indebted to the federal government. If we get placed in that black book, then, well, they may deobligate future funds or whole future funds. So based on the situation right now, we felt that, we'll just have to bring it to the board, bite the bullet, and move forward.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you.
What is, one question, what is the PA pilot? What is that program? Because I'm assuming if it happened in 2008, I was principal of Weslaco High School, so it says Weslaco High School there.
Yes, that was again, the acronym the state used, pilot program for that project worksheet. So in this one right here, there was a Weslaco High School that, again, there was 100 and, this is for Weslaco High
11.
School. I'm sorry, this is for airport, I'm sorry.
The first one was airport.
Airport and Weslaco High.
289 was Airport Elementary, and then 319 was Weslaco High School. So the company that went in and did some of the remediation work, that's what that was, Weslaco High School at the time.
Okay.
Dr. Valdez, I would like to request a workshop with Mr. La Rosa and just to review our insurances that we have in place, because I know some of these are tagged with exceptions to, hey, if we have a big name storm, we're not gonna cover your thing. I just wanna
Okay.
have a brief or, a review or a briefing or whatever it may be.
Yes,
so
we can add a
what
coach
we have in place.
to the
Just-
workshop with the finance and the
Insurance.
insurance and the delinquent tax attorneys and the items that have been requested, so note.
And you're
noted
focused on
and-
our property, buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because of the deductibles, increase, just all those loopholes that obviously we're spending a lot of money with these insurances, and then something happens and we depend on them, and then they, oh, no, you don't, you didn't follow this, or what, just different things that occur.
Dot our i's and cross our t's.
Yes,
Sure.
Yes. will
And
do.
that's actually coming up for renewal pretty soon, so.
okay.
That'll work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve?
We have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Mr. Los Santos for the board to consider the approval of the budget amendment, local maintenance fund, to allocate the funds for the amount of $167,446, payment of DR $1,780 and PW $289,819 to reimburse the Texas Division of Emergency Management, federal FEMA funds, be obligated as part of the Hurricane Dolly. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Coach Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item I, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a resolution designating Weslaco ISD as a Freeport tax exemption entity and ratifying board action taken November 16, 2021 regarding same. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, in the November regular board meeting, the trustees approved the Weslaco ISD to become a Freeport tax exemption entity. The Weslaco Economic Development Corporation, EDC, has requested that the district approve a resolution in support of this designation. The resolution has been reviewed by legal counsel. Administration recommends that you approve the resolution designating Weslaco ISD as a Freeport tax exemption entity.
Motion to approve?
I
Second.
have a motion by Mr. De Los Santos and a second by Mr. Gonzalez for the approval of the resolution designating Weslaco ISD as a Freeport exemption entity, ratifying board action taken November 16, 2021 regarding same. Is there any discussion? Okay, take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Motion carries. And item J, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of the annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR, for the fiscal year ended August 31, 2021. Dr. Valdez.
The Texas Education Agency by law requires that all school districts in the state hire an independent auditor, a certified public accountant, to audit the financial statements and financial records for the school district annually. The audit has to be completed, approved by the board, and submitted to TEA. So we have until Friday, January 28th, 2022, to be compliant. We do have staff, Mr. Andres Sanchez, and the auditing firm. Administration recommends that the board approve the annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR, of Weslaco ISD for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2021, as presented by the audit firm Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CPAs and advisors.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Los Santos and a second by Mr. Gonzalez to approve the annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR, for the fiscal year ended August 31, 2021. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote then. Signify your approval, say aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Jose Villa?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item. Okay, Andres. You didn't have to pay all that. But all the work was there, so thank you very much for you and your staff work.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now. Item 13. Closed meeting to discuss A, personnel matters, Texas Government Code 551.074. 1, employment of certified professional personnel. 2, resignations or retirements. 3, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, Texas Government Code 551.074 and 551.071. B, consultation with attorney regarding A, pending or contemplated litigation. B, a settlement offer. Or C, a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the Weslaco ISD under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Texas Government Code 551.071. And 1, discussion with attorney regarding incident at Maryhill Middle School, December 2021. The time now is 7:54, and we will go into closed.
Texas.
The time now is 9:20, and we have reconvened to open meetings. Item A, possible action if necessary on items discussed in closed meeting. 1, discussion and possible action on employment of certified professional personnel. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, recommendation for employment of certified professional personnel is discussed in closed session.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez and a second by Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
What? Take it to a motion, or
Aye.
take it to a vote then?
Go ahead.
Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Jose Villa?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 2, discussion and possible action on resignations, retirements. Dr. Valdez?
Recommendation is for approval of the resignations and retirements as presented in closed session.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez
Second.
and a second by Mr. Gonzalez. Take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Costeño?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 15, adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, the time now is 9:22. This meeting is
That's the one you
Sure.
can never beat Andrew on. The adjournment.